We played a beautiful song for you. It's Reach Out. So thanks for joining us. School Cotton in the house, Sharon Lewin. And of course, I've got my tech Crystal here. And we're going to have a fab session tonight because we want to discuss mental and physical wellness. And so I've invited two guests, Branmal Swartz, the principal of Heathfield Primary School, and Zeenat Smith, an educator at Hillwood Primary School. So we want to talk about living intentionally, and we just want to share our stories with you about how we deal with our challenges or the challenges that we had. And then we would like to talk about coping strategies. And then, of course, we just want to, share with you and see how we can help each other. So we're hoping that you will join in the conversation. And so at this point, I'm going to ask my tech to pull in our fabulous guests, Zeenat Smith and Branmal Swartz.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi guys, thanks so much, Zeenat and Branmal, for being here. And like I explained to the community now, that we're going to discuss mental health and wellness, and we are going to share about our, physical diseases that we have also experienced in our own lives and in our families' lives. And so I'm thrilled to have you here. Really, you are courageous. You are a blessing, and it takes a lot of, it takes a big heart and a sharing soul to talk about issues that people don't normally want to talk about. So I just want to greet our community out there. Janine, thanks for joining us. Janine is the deputy principal at Steenberg Primary School. Thanks for joining us, Janine. And of course, you must join in on the conversation because we just start the conversation. Okay. So tonight we want to really just talk about, living intentionally, but we want to talk about dread diseases, and we want to talk about our own experiences because it is Mental Health Month. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and of course, it's still World Teachers Month, and we thought it's ideal to talk about, issues that affect us as teachers and share with others so that we can help others cope perhaps or just feel less stressed and less anguished should they at some point in their lives experience a dread disease. Now, when we're talking about dread diseases, we're talking about cancers, we're talking about strokes, we're talking about heart disease, we're talking about all kinds of things, but we have particular experiences with certain dread diseases. For example, I had breast cancer. So I've been there on that journey, and so I've experienced the trauma, I've experienced the joy and the hope. So Branmal and Zeenat will tell their own stories, and you will have to keep the conversation going. So you can ask us any question because we want everybody to be open. We don't want, don't hold back. Whatever you want to ask, you can ask, and we will respond. So, Branmal and Zeenat, I just told the community now that we're going to discuss, we're going to have a heart-to-heart talk about, um, how we have learned to live purposefully and intentionally because we have some experience of life-changing events. So, Zeenat, I don't know if you would like to start. Um, what has made you believe you here for a reason?
Well, thank you firstly for the opportunity and having me in studio, albeit remotely, to tell my story and maybe encourage some of my colleagues out there, whether they're friends or strangers. I believe we're all here for a common goal.
Mm,
And my story is not a story of myself, but my journey with pediatric dreaded diseases.
mm,
And it's been a long, arduous journey, but I'm on the other side of it. And tonight I'm going to share some of my coping strategies, coping
mm,
skills, things that I never thought I'd do, but it's got me here where I am today. Still healing, still fighting the good fight, and I would like to share some of that this evening with you, all the listeners and viewers. My son's journey with bone marrow failure.
Mm. Thanks so much, Zeenat. So we're gonna get all that story, guys. So yes, we're putting everything on the table. And Branmal, you want to tell us a little bit about, what are you going to focus on tonight? And
Like,
what?
first of all, thanks, Sharon, for having me on also and sharing my story. And thank you for everybody that took the time to just watch tonight or to come onto the program tonight. For me, my story basically going to start with somebody that lived a fairly healthy life, that haven't seen or experienced any of your childhood diseases or anything, and suddenly be confronted out of nowhere with a dreaded disease. So that is sort of the take that I want to take for the evening.
Wow, wow, guys. I think we're gonna have a a couple of live lessons tonight. I'm really thrilled. I think I'm more excited than the community about having you here. So Zenith, you said your son, because you're gonna speak about your son's bone marrow um journey.
Yes.
Okay. You wanna tell
Okay.
us how did it start? How did you discover that it was your child had bone marrow disease, and yeah, just give us a bit of background.
This was 2009, Sharon, around about September. He had just turned 12 a week before then. And in that week, his teacher called me in and she said, "You know what? He's not looking well. He's looking a bit pale." And I was supposed to go overseas at the end of that week. And I said to her that, we had scheduled an appointment with a physician for him because we were concerned he was tired and he was full of bruises. And anyway, the one evening we went to Canal Walk and he had a heart attack at the age of 12. And we just got into our car to take him to the nearest hospital. And long story short, it turned out um, we took him to Red Cross Oncology, and the oncologist there, we thought initially it was a form of cancer because everything presented apparently low platelets. He had almost no blood in his body. They couldn't find enough blood to test and whatever. And a day later, he was diagnosed with something I've never heard of before, severe aplastic anemia, which is acute bone marrow failure.
Okay.
And yes, he had,
Wow.
I think at one stage in this journey, Sharon, my son was the person who used the most blood in the Western Cape, sometimes up to 6 units of blood per month. So it's
Wow.
been a long journey, and in that time, being given 2 weeks to live, and it was just one thing after the other. But he's still here, but it wasn't easy. It was heart rendering. It was everything that you don't want your worst enemy to go through. But you know what? My son said one day, he said, I asked him, "So how come you stopped bleeding?" Because when they gave him 2 weeks to live, he couldn't stop bleeding because his body couldn't manufacture the platelets or blood that he needed. And he said to me, "You know what, Mom? You are a praying mom. And I'm not done yet. I don't feel I'm done." He's still around. He's in remission today.
Yeah.
But that
Wow.
child has taught me about today for today.
Wow.
That's one of my coping strategies, not to live in the past or not too far away in the future. One of the things that he's taught me as a young man, to live
Yeah.
today and not let things rob you of today's joys. You find your joy
Mm.
in the little things, having a journey like that with a child, especially.
Yeah, imagine that. Sure, Zenith, and for your son to say such powerful words, but I'm not done here. I have a reason. That must have really just torn at your heart, eh? Pulled at the heartstrings.
It
Yeah.
does because you're on the journey, and I think a lot of people, especially parents, they when their child is given a diagnosis like pediatric cancer, whether it be whatever cancer, there are so many I've discovered, and you step into fear. The first thing you have this big WTF moment, and you step into fear, and my child's going to die, and we shouldn't be burying our children. A whole lot of things go through your mind. But I've discovered also that when you open your mouth to ask for help, you will be amazed at what comes. And if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no.
Mm.
There were so many people and organizations, and because at the time when you was diagnosed, Sharon, I think our whole world literally just fell apart. We lost our business, our home, our cars, and everything that could go wrong did. But I think just clinging on to those words, like my son said, today for today, made a lot of
Mm.
difference.
Yeah.
And when you're in that fire, it's very difficult to see the purpose or the reason. And people
Mm.
will ask, what could be the reason? Because they say everything happens for a reason. But
Mm.
today, I see why and what. And sometimes it doesn't have such a great ending, but there's probably also a reason for that. But it strengthened me as a woman, it
Mm.
strengthened me as a mother, it strengthened me as a friend, as a colleague. Um, I don't know, that where they say God makes a way where it seems there's no way. I've got so many of those kind of stories
Mm.
um, that inspires me daily to, no matter what challenge I face, just to put one foot in front of the other. Because if I could go through all that at the same time,
Mm.
I just realize, allow those that love you enough to love you enough.
Yeah.
That is just always my one thing, and to open my mouth and to ask what could be the worst thing to happen. And
Yeah.
one thing before I hand back to you, Sharon, is that people,
Sorry.
when there's a diagnosis of cancer, especially with a child, so
Mm.
now the parents focus on the child, um, and they always ask. I think one of the things that really annoyed me was people asking, "What can we do?" What can we
Mm.
do? My thing was always think of something and do it. That
Mm.
mom, that dad is so in their head. They are so busy. They are so, there's a lot
Mm.
of things happening at the rate of knots.
Mm.
Think of something and do it. Whether it's, I would have appreciated a pot of food or a meal, or take my other two children and take them
Mm.
out of the situation for the day. There's a list as long as my arm of things that you can do without asking, what can I do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Zeenat, thanks for that openness. May I just greet Bonita here? Bonita, thanks for joining us, and thanks. As Bonita says, good evening. Love the topic tonight: mental and physical wellness. Thank you, Bonita.
I
Yes, because we're focusing on physical wellness, but physical wellness is very closely tied to mental wellness. So Zeenat, guys, if you are there and you're listening to us, I have Zeenat Smith, an educator from Hillwood Primary School, who has been, really gifted us with her story tonight about speaking about her family's experience with a physical illness, and talking specifically about her son who went through bone marrow. What did you say?
failure.
Bone marrow failure. And then, of course, we
Yeah.
have Branmal Swartz, the principal of Heathfield Primary School, who's also here to share a story about physical illness. And, of course, we're touching on mental wellness while we're telling the story. Thanks, Zena, to yes, Janine just says, thank you, Janine. Janine says, a powerful story, Zena. Your story will definitely strengthen others going through difficult times. Yeah, that's
Thank
from
you,
Janine.
Janine.
Janine, Zenat says thanks for that. So yes, definitely I like what you said about the fact that sometimes it can become offensive when you're struggling with physical illness, either you or your family, and people ask, what can I do? And
Yeah.
people can actually use their own initiative because you're putting more pressure. I like that. And the point that, you must love the people who love you, and you must basically love enough.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. Branmal, you want to come in with
Yes.
tell us Mr. Branmal's story.
Yeah, I first just need to commend Zena.
Mhm.
Phenomenal story. And they say usually when you go through the tough times is where character and strength is built. So well done, Zena, and also all the best with you and your family. But I must also share and agree with her. I remember a couple of years ago we had a situation where my wife was involved in an accident, and everybody would tell you, I'm a phone call away. Whatever you need, I'm there for you.
Mm.
And one person out of all those people phoned me and said, can you come around to my house? When we got there, so my wife was hospitalized, ICU. And one person out of everybody that said, I'm there for you. Whatever you need, I'm there for you. Phoned me, and it's a colleague from a neighboring school that's also at our church. Said, Branmal, can you come around to my house? When I got there, she prepped supper for 2 meals with dessert and starters and everything. And she said, yeah, there's more where that came from. So I
Mm.
can sort of what Zena's saying, Zenith is saying, I can feel for that because a lot of people say, and they know they won't go back and ask. So it's actually that
Absolutely.
practical thing when you offer help, where you actually go out of your way and you make the effort in the first move. Because when you're in that situation, it's seldom where you actually will go and say, Sharon, I need help. Can you bring me this? Can you do that for me? And for me, out of that experience was the fact that one person actually
Mm.
just said, come around, and had a practical effort towards that. But
Yeah.
yeah, back
Yes.
back to
Yeah, just hold on to that quickly, Branmo. I like that, yes, and I think that is perhaps what we can share with the community is that if there's one thing that we can take away from what both of you said, and I experience the same thing, is people's intentions are pure, and they
Yeah.
want to help, but they often feel helpless. But they make it worse if they don't take the initiative. If they don't, like you guys said now, Branmal, where your friend said, come around, come fetch a meal. They don't ask, do you need a meal? It's like, here's the meal for you. Put the gift there, and then you can decide as the beneficiary whether you want to take it. Often we'll just take it. So I like that. Something that, because we're so scared we're going to offend people. I'm just trying the community. Thanks, Branmal and Zeenat are sharing with us. We're talking about mental and physical wellness, and we've got two amazing, phenomenal individuals here. Zeenat Smith of Hillwood Primary School and Branmal Swartz, the principal of Heathfield Primary School, and they just sharing their stories about, facing the realities of life-threatening diseases and what the experience is like, and then of course also giving us advice on how do you cope and how do you communicate with people, especially when you want to help people going through that difficult health experience. Okay, and then I just want to pull up. I think it was Ursula. I keep on forgetting how to pronounce Ursula. Eh?
Australia.
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 Sorry, Australia. Thank you for coming. Australia is also a lovely person from Hillwood Primary School. She says, see, you are an amazing woman of strength and courage, Zenith. We should all live in the moment and not live in the past or in the future. Thanks so much, Australia, for that.
Thank
And then, of
you.
course, hi, Abigail. Guys, Abigail is at Harmony Primary School, Abigail Goldman, and she couldn't wait, Zenith and Branmal, for this session tonight. Thanks so much for sharing as well, Abigail. Love your pictures with your spoilt dog that you take on hikes all the time. Thanks so much for being here with us. So, yes, Branmal, I just thought I'll pick up on that because we did say we also want to help people understand that when you want to reach out, then this is how people will respond. That they actually want you to act, your gifts that you want to give, without asking the person still to make that difficult decision of saying, I need a meal, I need some money, but rather make it for us. And so we'll appreciate that. Basically, that is what the guys were saying there. Okay. Right, Branmal. I had to cut you, Branmal, because you were chatterbox, remember?
Good. I'm in
I've
great
got two
company, Sharon.
chatterboxes
I'm in
here.
great company. First of all, just hi to Celia also in the back there.
Lovely. Yes.
Um, yeah, and I must say congratulations, Harmony, for moving at my old school. That's where we met, Sharon, for moving
Yes.
into the new building. All deserved and long time coming.
Oh,
But yeah,
oh.
back to sort of where I'm at. In my introduction, I said to you guys that I'm one of those people that haven't experienced any of my childhood diseases like or sicknesses like chickenpox, measles, or anything.
Mm.
Relatively healthy lifestyle. I mean, I'm a race walker, competitive, so I'm reasonably fit. I mean, I think my journey started end of 2018,
Mm-hmm.
with 2019 being a very good year in terms of sport and everything. And then I picked up a little bit of injury. And I thought initially symptoms that I had was anti-inflammatories and those things that are causing some impact on my tummy lining,
Mm-hmm.
and was treated for that. And when it persisted, I was sent for a colonoscopy. And when I woke up, there was a whole series of specialists booked for me already.
Wow.
And immediately, you didn't think it's that serious, so you're alone there. And you get this announcements done on your own without any family around, and 110 things go through your head. But for me, I always try and have a positive approach on things. The colonologist said to me, "Do you have colon cancer? Is there anybody here?" I said, "No." He said, "You've got colon cancer." No, there's no cancer in our family. Fairly healthy family. One or two brothers that have acquired diabetes, but there's no trace. So this came so surprised as a big surprise and unaware. And in a very short time, it went from, um, I think I said to you earlier on, you must ease me and Zeenat in because it's breast cancer month, and we are not quite, can't quite speak to everything about that. So you need to introduce us in terms of what we're speaking about. I think my wife said to me at the time, which was that I've been in this journey for every possible scan besides a mammogram. Um, that was at the time. But at that time, they also found that there was a spot on my liver. Last year, September, a year ago, they had to remove at least three-quarters of it because the doctor said to me that the colon won't kill me, but the liver. So that
Uh-huh.
was followed by chemo, and it was sort of one of the toughest journeys. I
Mm.
call it, some people say it is saved your life by chemicals. I said it was death by chemicals. But through God's strength and all of that, I got through that. I think the one thing that helped me was the serenity prayer. And I always say, God, what's out of my control, help me to deal with it. What I
Mm.
can control, give me the wisdom to make the best decisions around that. And I think one thing, and I shared it beginning of this year on my birthday when I did a post on this, where I said the one thing that almost became my anthem is that where I started thanking God. I said for 50, I'm 52 this year. For 50 years, I had a healthy, key-free life in terms of health, fitness, and everything. So
Mm.
who am I to complain?
Mm.
Suddenly at this age of my life where I've been basically confronted with something like that. And I
Mm.
think taking that approach helped me through some of my darkest days. And you know what? As Zena also will tell you, you have your good days and you have your bad days, but you must allow yourself when you go through this to go through your bad days. So first op was September last year, and
Mm.
then in May. So the second one with the colon was supposed to be in May, June this year after chemo. And with COVID, they basically shortened things,
Okay.
and that up in May. So in the last year, as the doctors warned me, we're going to take you to hell and back to heal you because they said it's not extension of life, but it was curative therapy. And I
Mm.
can say, thank you, God. I'm cured. It's in remission. I'm cancer free. And God was really good in
Mm,
this time. I mean, I'm at the point back at school where my energies are back, and I can
mm,
sort of operating at the levels where I was before all this started. So
mm,
I also want to put out there to the community, those that supported and those that were there for me and my family. I just want to thank them on this platform also, and also just for my family for what they've done and been for me during this difficult time. Because you know what, if you don't have family to
mm,
support you, it's actually more difficult. And just to be there for you, and it's worse for them that have to be on the side.
mm.
So I'll stop there for now, Sharon.
Wow. I'm sitting and I'm thinking, you guys are such strong people and such good, you're such a powerful testimony. Because I think one has to have a very strong faith when you're going through these difficult, life-threatening periods. Zenith, you with
Yes.
your son as a mom, you must have been more torn up than he was. And Branmal, you coming from a very healthy background, and you're confronted with colon cancer. And I can share some, similar to me. Although I've discovered that we've got breast cancer in the family, I went for a routine checkup. In fact, when I went for a check, I I can't even remember what I went for, but I just told the doctor, I've got this like premenstrual kind of sensation in my breast, and she said, ah, since you've lost a sister to cancer, maybe you must just go for a check. I don't see it. I don't think anything is the matter. And the next minute when I went for the mammogram. Never went for a mammogram in my entire life. Careless me. Went for the mammogram, and from the mammogram on that very same day, mammogram, ultrasound, biopsy, same day. And
Wow.
I was in total shock because they just moved so quickly, and then of course there I was with a breast lump, and yeah, and here I am to tell the tale. If it wasn't for my faith, if it wasn't for my family, like you guys said, I even, I thought, is Lord, is this why did you do this to me? you know, what is the reason for doing this? But I think I got like I said earlier to you guys, I got a good cosmic clap. It brings you right down to earth. You are humbled because you have to depend on other people to help you with this
Yeah.
journey. Yeah. So I just thought I'll share my story as well, because it's a very personal kind of topic that we're having tonight. But I thought I am qualified to talk with you and not act as an observer. That we can actually identify with a lot of the stuff. So I just want to pull Karen. Hi, our lady of curriculum, our head of curriculum is here, Karen Dudley. Amazing, knowledgeable, experienced curriculum head. And Karen says, this is such a relevant topic, Sharon Lewin. Oh, I'm Sharon Lewin tonight, not Sherry. I salute Zeenat and Branmal Swartz for sharing their stories. And then, of course, she says, blessing to both of you. That is from Karen, guys, the head
Thanks,
of
Thank you,
Karen.
Karen.
curriculum. Yeah. And then, of course, Anthea's here as well. Hi, Anthea. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you're enjoying it. And she says, indeed, I think she agreed with that. And then we have Angeline Jacta Watkins, one of my main cheerleaders and really an eco warrior, and such a strong spiritual support for a lot of people, including myself. And Vanji says, I admire Branmal's approach to his condition. Thank you for inspiring and for being in remission. Wow. Branmal, there you're getting some cheers
Thanks,
there. You guys can
Andrea.
see the comments, eh?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, we
Krista's also
can.
putting it up. Jacqueline, hi, Jackie. Jackie, Nicole, Deronde. Deronde, just pull up the comment is up. Jackie says, salute colleagues for sharing your stories. So true, live today for today as tomorrow is not promised. Thank you and
Hi,
God bless.
Jackie.
Guys,
It's my neighbor and colleague.
oh, it's your neighbor. Listen, Jackie grew up right in front of me, as we say. So I'm going to claim Jackie tonight, Zenith. Thanks, Jackie.
A big
There's
one
Zenith.
to you.
Yes, Zeenat has just claimed you. And of course, Merle, thank you, Merle, for being here. Merle says, praise to God. Hallelujah. I agree with you. Um,
Amen.
Hello, Mo.
yeah, amen. And then Janine Melanie Erfurt says, did we read Janine's one? I'm looking here down here. Crystal's giving me dirty looks here because I'm losing the
Thanks,
plot.
Janine.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you for sharing. Branmal, all strength and power to you. Glad you're getting your health back. Look forward to seeing you on the road. Yes, he's such a show when he goes on the road, eh, Janine? And then, of course, we have Bronwyn Shoulder. Hi, Bronwyn. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for your comment. Amazing testimonies. May you continue to be blessed and be a blessing to others. We serve an awesome God. Oh, man, that's so
Mm,
true.
Indeed.
And
Amen.
then
Indeed.
that's to both of you guys, so you can give loud shout outs. This is a noisy channel here. Eh? There we go, Zeenat.
Thanks, Bronwyn. You go well.
Yes. And then Osilia says, Branmal, through all you have been through, you always had a word of encouragement, even for me at times. Lovely. God knows the plans He has for you. You still have so much to give, my friend. That is from Osilia Branmal.
Thanks,
Really
Lucia.
enjoying it. Thanks, Osilia. And then Gavin Krauts is here. Thank you, Gavin. Love to have you here tonight. Um, Gavin says Christway makes them tougher. Yes. Branmal, there's your. Is he also from Christway as a learner? I
Yeah,
know Gavin taught
n-
him. Yeah.
He was my PT teacher, and he
Oh,
came to visit
okay.
me afterwards at school when I returned at the end of the year. He came actually to
Oh,
pop in to visit me.
oh, wow.
So thanks,
Um,
Gavin.
yeah, Gavin, thanks, Gavin. He says continue on the road to full recovery. And then Kathy Paul says, yeah, hi, Kathy. So Zeenat got you on.
The
Zeenat is
HOD.
Kathy. Kathy
Oh my
says
word.
everything
How's it,
funny,
Kathy?
interesting, and relevant topic. God is good all the time. Really true, true, true. And then, of course, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So people are enjoying what you're sharing, and I think they like the fact that you are open and that you're not afraid. Because, guys, we as I explained to Zeenat and Branmal when I asked them if they're okay with the topic, if they'll come on, because we thought we'll share, because many of us are going through many of us have physical illnesses, many of us have faced life-threatening diseases, many of us are going through mental health issues, and I have so much admiration for my two guests, and when they agreed to come on the show, I thought you can only really just enjoy what you're hearing tonight, just get some insight and so forth. And then, of course, Kathy says, if we can just pull, oh, is it the same comment? Yes, it's the same comment. Okay. So, Branmal and Zeenat, thanks for sharing. So, yeah, it's a frightening time. Tell me, can we ask you about your personal, when you first heard about, Zeenat, in your case with your son, when you had to deal with that, what was your emotional state like, and Branmal the same to you, you know so that
Um,
we can just sort of share that inner turmoil, inner pain with people as well, but not too much detail. I'm just saying, that
yeah.
people don't know that you're sitting here and you just said, right, bring it on, Lord, I'm ready. It's like, oh, maybe I should just kick started. I was like, totally. Look, I tend to cut myself off, but I'm a chatterbox, as you can see and hear. And I just went silent, and my family became concerned. I thought I was keeping up the front of being still calm and so on. But that was my way of coping with it, and really having a lot of questions and being very fearful. And it's not easy until I I actually realized I've got breast cancer. The Lord has given people the skills to help me on this journey, and that I need to just trust in them. Because when the one doctor said to me, who do we refer you to? And I said, and he gave me a recommendation because his mom had breast cancer. And I said, Doc, you give the name, because the name that you give is meant to be. So whoever was in my path is like, do what you must do. You have been placed there to look after me, whichever way I come out. You've been, and that helped me to settle my emotions. Okay. So I'm just asking you, what did you go through when you heard? How did you feel? How did you cope with your emotions? Just
I think,
I
briefly.
can
Sharon,
partially
the
resonate
first
with that,
one,
Sharon.
Mm.
Okay, Zenith, you go.
Zenith?
okay.
Zenith, you go.
I think my first response was very much one of disbelief
Mm.
because my son, he's the eldest of my three children, and even before he was born in utero, they saw there was a problem with his kidneys. So the kidney was
Oh.
blown up and full of holes. And then at 1 month old, he had an op. This was my first child who I struggled for years to have, a few years to
Mm.
have. And then at the age of about 9 months, I discovered neither of his tendons in his feet were developed. So he couldn't walk. So at 3 years old, he had ops on both his feet. So imagine discovering this child has all these bruises and things like that. And his dad told me at the time after he was diagnosed, his dad said, "You know what? I saw that, I Googled it, and I said, no, God wouldn't do this three times to one family and to
Mm.
one child."
Mm.
And when he was diagnosed, we were like, we were floored. We couldn't believe it. It was more disbelief than anything
Mm.
else. But
Mm.
when the disbelief passed, and the doctor gave us the words that today you wish your child had cancer.
Mm.
We didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know, you know.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I said, you wished your child had cancer. He said, you know what? When you have cancer, you have treatment options. There's
Mm.
only one treatment, and he needs a bone marrow transplant. I mean, up to today,
Mm.
he didn't get it. But we were in such disbelief. But I promise you, what you said, you just quickly get over yourself. You go quiet for a day, you get over yourself, and doctor, you tell me, what do I need to do? You direct me. You've got divine guidance. What do I need to do to make this
Mm.
better? Tell
Very
me,
good.
what do I need to do? And then
Yeah.
your faith kicks in. Because I'm a very positive person. Your
Mm.
faith kicks in, your positivity kicks in. Yes,
Mm.
you have still your what the heck moments, whatever.
Mm.
But
Yes, yes.
that's me. I will pull it together and I will
Mm.
do what I need to do.
Mm.
And
Lovely.
trusting God for his timing. Not
Mm.
easy. It's not easy because there
Not
aren't
easy.
many moms that has been told, "Go sort your child's funeral cloths out. Go sort the
Mm.
linen out for his funeral." And God knows what He's doing. They
Yeah.
say, "Look, mens beplan maar God bestuur," and
Yeah.
that was my thing all the time.
Yeah.
So it was just a
Thanks.
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much for that. Branmal, and your emotional roller coaster.
I think, Sharon, from that moment you went into that numbness where you don't know exactly where and what. And the one hand, you try to be strong because you need to tell your family this. And remember, when they first announced it to me, I was all by myself. So I had to go report, and I remember my wife sometimes being a bit frustrated with me because she felt that I'm not telling her everything, or I'm not the way it's supposed to be. But also
Mm.
telling things secondhand, I can understand why they always say bring a loved one or a family member
Mm.
with you, because telling something secondhand is quite difficult to tell everything, because at times you try to soften things. But similar to you and Zenith, it was a situation where they asked me, who do you want to see? And I said, I never needed an oncologist. I never needed this. Um, who do you recommend me to go to? And I
Mm.
said, I'm sure, and my words to the doctor was a bit cocky also. I'm sure you won't recommend me to somebody that won't be able to do a good job. So eventually, because of the liver and that, they had to have a whole team. And
Mm.
I think at that point when they just told me that they're gonna go curative and not just extend of life, you still doubted. And I
Mm.
remember praying and saying, God, if the doctor's diagnosis and plans are different to what yours, let your will be done. And I mean,
Mm,
I think the biblical part where Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he came to me where I started telling me, if he had to go through a dark moment like that, who am I to be excluded or excused from my dark moment like that? And I mean,
mm,
where he said to God, not your will, but my will. And I think
mm,
that is the processes, where you're really sort of drawn on the depth of your faith and what you've said to other people. But I can tell you there was times when it was very hard, very
mm,
difficult. I
mm,
mean, there was times when you went into the room and you cried.
mm,
And then I think I played the one song that I constantly played for myself during that time was God, you are good to me. Your goodness is
mm,
running after me. And I constantly said to me, for so many years, I've experienced your goodness. Why
mm,
complain? Why ask these questions now? And it was tough. I mean, I think the going into the first op, I was totally numb. I didn't know how I felt. Went in there, and it was 6.5 hours. I mean, a long stint for somebody that haven't seen that.
mm.
And fortunately, the professionals that were very supportive, even how they sort of related and relayed information throughout the process to my wife. They were very supportive and quite good at what they were doing. Um,
Mm.
but through that process, I think I was also prepared to a certain extent by the doctors, where they say, we're going to have to take you to hell and back.
Oh,
Before that, the doctor said to me, Branmal, because he realized I was in sort of athletics, he said, you need to, in this next couple of weeks, prepare as if you go and prepare for a marathon.
mm,
Is it so? Eating properly, sleeping
mm,
properly. Um, and with all of those things, you had the things playing in your mind from time to time. And then you just have to go revert back to where you find your strength. And we just said, God, let your will be done.
mm.
um, this is out of my control. If you if you have different plans to what the doctor's saying, I'm
Mm.
willing to accept. But just I must say, I just said, but please, I don't want to suffer. Let it go quick.
Yes. Sorry
If I
that
have
I'm
to go,
laughing,
that
but
was
that
my
was my
only
same.
prayer
Yeah,
in
that
there.
that was my same plea to the Lord. It's like, take me quietly, just take me. Yeah, thank you, Prano. We can laugh, but I mean, I like the fact that, like Zeenat, you also said you go into that deep tunnel sometimes of depression, and
Oh,
now we can talk about it, but it's like you go so deep that if people haven't been there, they won't understand. So that's something, guys, that we thought we'll raise these things, so that it's not all hunky dory. I mean, look at Branmal, amazing testimony of just being filled with faith, being focused, being mentally strong, and the same with Zenith, because it takes even that mental and emotional energy that you're using. It's also draining. Okay, so
yeah.
I just want to greet quickly. Thank you, guys. Oh yeah, wow, sure, but I want to greet Anthony Adams. Just Anthony Adams. Hi, Anthony. Lovely to have you here, my regular. One of my favorite principals, the principal of Swansbeck Academy. And Anthony says, you inspire me, Swartz. Okay, he called you Swartz. I don't know what happened to Branmal. Keep on keeping on. Thanks so much, Anthony. Yes, he's my inspiration as well, and Zeenat. And then
Thanks,
Deirdre. Hi,
Anthony.
Deirdre. Yeah, you guys can
Wow.
give your people a shout out.
Oh,
Who's Deirdre? Does anybody know Deirdre? Thank you for coming,
hello.
Deirdre.
Hi, Dee. Wow.
Yeah, Deirdre, there you can hear Zenith is shouting hi to you. Deirdre says, what a trip down memory lane, Zenith. Big.
Sharon, that was one of my support structures.
Oh, wow. Thank you,
That was
Deirdre.
she. Her son was diagnosed with kidney cancer, and she started the My Child is Cancer Trust, and she does amazing work in the
Wow.
pediatric cancer field with families.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh,
Salute to
that's
you, Deirdre. Thanks so
Well
much.
done, Deirdre.
Yeah, and thanks, Zenith, for telling us. Deirdre, thanks so much for what you're doing, and I like the fact that you see Zeenat wears big panties.
Big old panties.
Yes, I deliberately said big girl panties, but then, yeah. And then of course, Mo Jansen, hi Mo. Mo, Zeenat, you probably know Mo as well. Thanks for popping in. Love to have you here in the community. And she says, awesome, Zeenat. And then we
Thank you,
have,
Mo.
yeah,
Sharon,
Abigail.
just for Mo,
Where
I
is
must just say
Mo?
thank you to Mo. It's many times when I had tough times, Mo would pack my bag and walk me to the car. The dog chemotherapy days, she would
Mm,
basically pack my bag and kick me out of the school and say, go home.
wow.
So Mo also all the best and strength as you're recovering.
Yeah.
Mo has
Thank you,
also
Mo.
not have been too well this
Yeah.
over the past week.
Okay. Mo's healing blessings. Merle is also a biker, eh?
Yeah. Oh, a tough auntie.
Yeah. She makes me very jealous because if I just try to picture on the bike and then I just pretend that I know what it feels like to be on a bike at my age. Yeah. Thanks, Mo. Awesome, Zena, she says. And then Abigail says, wow, your positivity is amazing. Thanks, Abigail. And then Nadia, thanks, Nadia, for being here. Nadia says, both stories gives one goosebumps and a lump in the throat. Branmal, I wish you a full recovery. And Zenith, you can swallow that lump. A tough time for
Thank,
any parent. Love, my friend. Your stories inspire me. Thanks, Nadia. That's
Thanks,
true.
Nadia. Love you, girl.
thank Nadia.
Yeah, lovely. And thanks, Nadia, for joining us. And thanks for yes. I appreciate all of you who came. And I also just take my hat off to my two friends and colleagues who are on in the chat today with us, or in the fireside chat. But we're focusing on physical and mental health. And then of course Juanita's here. Hi, Juanita. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're enjoying Zenith and Branmal's story. And Juanita says, good evening, guys. Remarkable stories. I will include you in my praise, Branmal. Branmal was a colleague of mine. Branmal, you know Juanita?
Yeah, the Dana days, Sharon. Hi,
Okay.
Juanita. Many moons ago at Dana, we worked together.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And then Gail Johannes. Hi, Gail. Lovely to have you here. Our aspiring and definitely principal in the future. Just putting it out there, Miss Johannes. She's this
Hi,
interesting topic.
Gail.
Yeah, that's Zenith's colleague.
Hi, Gail.
Um,
Thank you
yeah,
for
you also know
coming.
Gail Branmo.
Yes, I
Uh,
do.
Interesting topic, she says. All three speakers inspire me with your amazing strength. Thanks, Gail. And then Chandra, our principal of Swanswyk High School. Vibrant lady with truckloads of energy and so much to give. She says, Chandra says, evening, all good to be with you again this evening. And then to you guys, Branmal and Zenith, you are both overcomers. Amazing stories. Thanks so much, guys,
Thanks,
for
Chandra.
Thanks,
sharing the
Chandra.
love. They're saying thanks to you, Chandra. So continue to you can even ask questions, guys. You remember we are a nice, intimate community. We like to engage and we like to take your questions as well. But thanks so much for your inspiring comments. And then Gavin
Is
Alcana
that
is
my
here.
principal?
As a Gab.
Zenith is your principal.
Oh my gosh. Hi,
Yeah,
so.
Guy, you look at, and of course, Branmal's friend as well. Gavin, thanks for coming. You're, yes, my champ. He says, thank you for sharing your journey with us, Branmal and Z. Okay, he's the only one who called you Z. We all said
Hi, that's my
Z.
friend.
Okay. And then Christian Deval is giving us a long comment. Hi, Christian. Love the fact that you're joining us so regularly. We need to chat one day. And Christian says, good evening, old school corridor. Thank you for this topical conversation. Amazing to appreciate our humanity with a focus on our darkness. Thank you for sharing those dark moments with us. And sharing the testimony of God's intervention. Thank you, Christian. I think Christian is a pastor as well, and Christian, you must just help me. Pastor Christian, and he's also teaching at Delta. Thanks so much for that, Christian. Yeah, we want to keep it real, and we thought we'll tackle the physical and mental well-being tonight. And then, of course, Chris Bam is here. Hi, Chris. You've disappeared for a while. I haven't seen you in the chat for a while. And Chris says, good to see you again and in good health, Branmal. Branmal, that's for you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks,
Yeah.
Chris.
Okay, right, guys. Yes, thanks so much. So you've shared so much, and if somebody should experience, let's say, if people, Christian, sorry, I'm interrupting us. Christian says, yes, that's right, Sharon. Lewin with an N. Christian with an N. Lewin. Thanks so much. Yes, I got my story right, guys. So on that, what kind of, we spoke about coping strategies, but if you must just sum up the tips that you said briefly, if you must say, what are the coping strategies people can use? You spoke about the fact that you need to remain positive, for example. You spoke about that you need to love, and well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what are some of the, you gave us some words of wisdom, and I just want to capture it. So if you must sum up, Zeenat, what would you say?
I think it's basically accept what people are offering, accept,
Yeah,
and you know what, the people that say, I'm there for you, make them be there for you. Take them
yeah,
up on their offer. Put that pride, you're going to see, you're going to need it. Put the pride a little bit in the pocket. And I think for all my colleagues, not only who's going through the challenges of dreaded diseases,
mm,
self care, self care, self care.
self care.
Take,
Mm.
please, self care. Take that 10 minutes for
Mm,
yourself. Stand
yeah,
in the shower and cry if you need to. But self care, I've come to realize that I can't give what I don't have. I can't feed from an empty cup. So self care. When a friend of mine, and they were one of them was my friend Nadia. If I needed to step sideways for a few minutes and just maybe breathe, that's what I did. Self care and be gentle with yourself. You're doing the
nice.
best you can.
Okay,
That's my
lovely.
tip.
Lovely three tips. Brandwell, you've got quite some competition here, eh? It's
Yeah,
self care,
definitely,
um, physical
definitely, and
support.
I would
Yeah.
agree with Zena. Self-care is important,
Mm,
but also so and on two things: the self-care and also just allow people to be there for your family because sometimes you frustrate people because you don't want to burden, and they don't know what to do and they get frustrated. So also just allow them. It's difficult, but allow them in your space and
mm,
allow them to be there for you, but
mm.
also,
Yes.
you know what, see to your regular medical checks, as part of your self-care. Go for your annual visitations. And if you realize there's anything, and this is more physical, there's anything that don't seems right, don't put it off and be in denial. Go and seek professional help, because if you put it off, things can become worse. Can give you
Mm.
one example, Sharon, if you will allow me.
Yes.
Somebody had felt there was something wrong with the colon, and they could clip the little polyp off before it become cancerous. Now,
Yeah.
if I went in earlier, I could have prevented going through this whole process. So that is important. And if you will allow me just to give a tip to a lot of our colleagues, if you
Yes.
get to 50 years old, please, everybody that needs to get to 50 years old, and this
Mm.
is what one of the chronologists, now the tongue is
Colonologist.
but there we go. It's
What she
getting
said.
stuck there. It said that if you can do one thing going forward is to advise everybody once they get to the age of 50 to go for a colonoscopy to check out your
Oh.
system, like people go for mammograms and all of that. Please go and get those things into. And my second tip is more of a financial one. When we're young, and this is for our younger teachers, when
Mm,
we're young and we feel we're untouchable,
mm,
nothing can happen, we sort of look at policies and all of those things and we skimp on dreaded disease cover. Guys, when you're older, those things are expensive.
Mm,
Please make sure that is part of what you have. You never know. I never thought I will need it, and I've excluded it from a lot of things. And
mm,
suddenly, out of nowhere, I needed it. So make sure that you don't think you're invincible. It will never knock on your door. Make sure
mm,
you have dreaded life cover, and
mm,
make sure when you get to a certain age, you actually do your colonoscopies and those things, and
mm.
also all the other things like your mammograms and whatever you need to make sure that you help. And that goes with what Zeenat said, self-care. Self-care goes the emotional, the mental one, but also the physical one.
Yes.
Please don't skimp on those things.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
think,
Sharon.
yeah, wow. I think you've rounded off well that we need to look at after ourselves physically, mentally, and what did you say? Physically, mentally, and of course we spoke about spiritual, but the physical and like certain practical steps, like you said,
The
go for
financial
just go
levels, yeah.
the regular checks, see to your finances because one is so one is really careless, you're negligent, you don't always focus on those things. Um, and so for the young people, for the young teachers, it's good for them to know that that they need to look at insurance cover because you'll need it when you get when you get to my age. You'll be very glad you have some cover. Yeah. Guys, yes. So I think this was you've given such a rich made such a rich contribution to all our lives by sharing coping strategies and speaking to our mental and physical health, not only sharing your story, but also giving advice based on your own experiences. So, thanks very much for that. Are there any kind of closing comments you want to make? I think we've greeted everybody who's here and who's been enjoying what you have to share. Are there any closing comments you want to make? I was trying to think of I forgot. Oh, this is what I wanted to share. Um, I at the time had Juan Benjamin was my circuit team manager. Juan is shit scared of hospitals, and Juan hates hospital food. But at when I was in hospital, Juan sat there from about 2 o'clock. He shared my supper at 5 o'clock, and his wife couldn't believe that he sat, the whole day just sitting there doing his own thing, not even paying much attention to me. But the fact that he was my leader at the time, and I still take my hat off because that is what we need from people, even our heads at schools, that they must, they must be aware that people are going through struggles, and they must, ask people, how do you feel? What would you like to have? Or if I know, Zeenat, you spoke about sometimes we have to, reach out if we know what we can do, but especially in your working environment, sometimes the environment can become so cold because people are so focused on just the work that must be done. And you could have many people struggling with mental, issues, mental health issues, with physical health issues, but they don't feel free to speak to you because you look aloof. So maybe that's a tip or some advice for us as leaders as well, that we need to check in with people and make sure that people, that we understand, that we can be sympathetic and empathetic, and that we will help. But people need to then speak to their heads as well. Okay, so that is one point, bonus point that Juan got. I couldn't believe he sat there the whole night. I said, aren't you going home? She said, no, I'm busy. I'm sitting here. You must sleep if you want to sleep. But I really appreciate it. And that goes down in my history books. Okay. So, guys, on that note, how would you like to close the session?
I just want
Sharon,
to say that, you know what? Positivity and faith will
Mhm.
get you very far. And also, when you're going through something, I've discovered even in South Africa, a lot of people are bashing our country, but we've got so many structures that we can access. There are so many people that have gone through similar. I won't make your journey any less than mine, but maybe
Mm,
similar journeys.
mm,
We Google all kinds of things. There
Mm.
are structures to access, and by telling your story, you don't know who you may reach or you may inspire. And you know what? And it is okay sometimes not to be okay. Tomorrow's
Mm.
another day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also that colleagues are aware, even if it's hello to a colleague or how are you today, it makes the world of difference, especially
Mm.
now with social distancing and COVID. We
Mm.
all in our classes. I haven't seen some of my colleagues since I got back to school because we
Mm.
have different intervals. Check in or say hello on WhatsApp. It means so
Mm.
much. Some of us are not coping, some of us are
Mm.
coping better than others. Check in with your colleagues. And the colleagues who are struggling, access structures or
Mm.
speak. I know not all of us do, but access structures and be kinder than what you need to be.
Yeah. Thank you, Zeenat. I like that. That we need to reach out to people, but if you are struggling, you need to, not, you should just get rid of that pride and that feelings of insecurity and force yourself to reach out. And then there are support groups. I'm glad you underscored that. There are so
Yeah,
many support groups, and those people are accepting, don't ask
absolutely.
questions. Yeah, it's not
Mm.
about knowing. It's people who've gone through the experience you experiencing, whatever you're experiencing, and no questions asked. You accept it as you are, and they will provide you with the necessary support, or push you or send you in a direction where you can get
Yes,
specific support. So thanks for that, Zenith. And like you said, a lot of teachers are struggling. So I like the fact that you're underscoring. It's not only that we must look out for people, but if we're going through some kind of mental anguish or physical struggles or spiritual struggles, we need to articulate that. We must find
yeah,
somebody we can trust so that we
yeah.
can just share the burden, and
Sharon,
then that will help.
what I've discovered, if you give me a minute, I've discovered that the employee wellness program is a great resource.
Mm,
And last year I was battling with one or two issues, and you know what? I ended up having a few sessions with psychologists in my area just
mm,
to debrief about an issue. And that
mm.
employee wellness program is really an amazing resource if you don't want to do a one-on-one thing or whatever. Access
Yeah,
those structures. They're really
yeah,
there
Yes.
to help.
yeah. Thank you, Branmal. Just before you speak, colleagues, thank you, Senate, for raising the education wellness program that is
Employee.
offered for free by the WCED. So at the moment,
Yes,
Metropolitan Health is our service provider, and you have access to you have access to experts, you have access to doctors,
absolutely.
specialists, counselors, and I have many people who have come back and told me stories where they were assisted, that when they needed the support, there was a qualified expert paid for by the WCED. So you must get hold of the number, like Zenith said, and if you don't want to confide in family and friends, we are asking you to please reach out, and the education department does make that freely available to you as an employee, and also to your family. Thank you for reminding us in it. And if you need the number, then just drop the question in the chat, and then I will drop the number there in on school corridor. But make use of the services. The Western Cape Education government, in fact, is paying for that service, and you don't have to feel guilty about reaching out. Thanks. Sorry, Branmal, you know me.
Yeah. Sharon always blames me for being talking too much, but yeah. Um, Yeah. What are two things, Sharon, that I want to just address is number one is that, yes, we have the professionals there. And many times when you go through these situations, you need somebody different to speak to, which is maybe not direct family or whatever that you can trust.
Mm,
So I would recommend that people find somebody, like Zenith said, a one friend that was a that would understand, that wouldn't come around with sympathy, but with a level of empathy, and
mm,
will most probably just allow you to offload in those moments. And then, secondly, also that we would understand that other people, whether it's close friends and family, they experience your darkest moment in some way. And you find that some people, they almost like Juan that came to visit you. There's other people that constantly saying they coming to visit you or they're coming around, but they can't handle seeing you in that situation. They can't handle seeing you differently to what you've been. And as much as they say, I'm coming to visit, they also find the same way to avoid that visit because, you know, we always say we want to remember a person in a certain way when people really are um, to that point where they're close to death or whatever. And a lot of people can't handle see us when we're not firing at all cylinders. So number one, find somebody that you can speak to different to the family, that you can share certain things with, or just, and then also realize that some people are not avoiding you or whatever. They just also can't deal with those issues as bad as you dealing with it. It's more difficult for some people around you to deal with seeing you or experiencing you in that not well situation.
Yeah. That's a very powerful point. Thanks, Branmal, that we must share the burden. And we must, because our families also struggling. They may not have that same physical, mental struggles that you're going through, but they're experiencing it on their level. And it's often worse. It's sometimes more traumatizing for your family to watch you. So I like that point. I think it's a valuable tip that we need to find somebody to trust and somebody to share the burden with. And then the second point is, and I think Zeenat also underscored this, and I mentioned it earlier, that often it's not because people don't, that people are deliberately avoiding you. It's more because they don't know how to deal with it and they don't want to see you looking like that. Okay. Um, with all that pain and struggles and suffering and so on. So they stay away. Thanks for, and the beauty is that usually when people have those struggles, those mental, physical, and spiritual struggles, if you understand that people are not ignoring you, but it's more their own fears and their own, difficulty in dealing with it, then that will also help you with your own mental, spiritual, and physical journey. But if you beat yourself up and say, nobody wants me anymore, nobody likes me, everybody's looking at me funny, that affects your mental state, it affects your spiritual state, and it will eventually affect your physical state as well. So it's important for us to keep a balance between our physical, mental, and spiritual health, basically. Ne? Yeah. So I'm just gonna ask Crystal to pull up Ashley. Ashley, hi, Ashley. Lovely to have you here, brother. Ashley's from Christwa. He's the department head at Christwa High School. I see the whole of Christwa is here tonight, guys. He says, "Good evening, love this." Thank you, Ashley. Yes, I'm glad that you appreciate it. And then I think Karen may have mentioned something here. There, Karen. This is typical Karen Dudley. Guys,
Well
Wow.
there's
done.
the number. Look at that,
Awesome.
eh? Wow, yeah. Give her a round of applause. Gordon, thanks so much. You're such a joy. And so on top of things, there, guys, if you even those who are going to watch the replay, there's the employee wellness services, and that's the number. And like I said, it's experts in all different medical, legal, and psychological fields. Okay. And then Ashley Jeffter says, um, yeah, Ash, Branmal hosted an athletics primary school meeting in recovery. Awesome. Look at that, Branmal. Ashley, yeah, thank you very
Thanks,
much. And then,
Ash.
yeah. And then Janine says, good advice, guys. She's thanking you guys. Thank you, School Corridor, for an interesting topic. Yes, thank you, Janine. Thanks for being and
Janine.
staying with us. Yeah. So, Zenit and Branmo, I want to say thank you very much for the rich conversation. Thank you for giving us all those insights into understanding that we all have different physical, mental, and spiritual struggles, and you were willing to share that with us tonight. And I'm sure a lot of people took some insights from that, from your own experience, your own journey. Thanks too for the tips that you shared about coping strategies, how people can help themselves and help their immediate families and so forth. And then I think very importantly is that you also reminded us that we need to also take care of ourselves. We must look after ourselves,
Mm.
and that when we look after ourselves, then we're not only making sure that we're okay, but we also help the others be okay for either reaching out or just helping to deal with the trauma that we're going through and that they're experiencing it in a different way. Okay, so thanks a lot for that. I thoroughly enjoyed the session. I think for those guys who are going to watch a replay, they're going to enjoy it just so much. So, on that note, to the community, guys, thanks so much for making our conversation real. Thanks for being in the house. Thanks for always keeping the community going and engaging our speakers. And so, like we say here on School Corridor, we want to master our craft so that we can spread our impact. And when we're talking about mastering our craft, we're talking about growing physically, spiritually, mentally, academically. We cover everything holistically here on School Corridor. So, on that note, have a super, super holiday the last few days. And yes,
Thank
we'll see
you.
you back at the chalkboard by Monday. So I'm going to allow my two guests to say cheerio to you guys too.
Bye bye. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thanks for everybody that tuned in and listened. For all those people that supported both me and Zena through our journeys, and thanks Sharon for inviting us.
Yes,
Thank
now my
you.
pleasure. Guys, on that note, otherwise we'll keep them here all night. See you next time. We're going to play it with a lovely song that's Zeenat